Shalom lekulam and Shavua Tov. I hope your Shabbat was well. From Latina Kadisha, Yerushalayim, the old city, we are fine. We are well. They said the word fine is not that of good English, as they say. I'm not an English speaking person. It's a second language. We continue to learn halachot according to Ben Shchai. The parsha of this week is Behar. Last week we left off at halakha number 12. For proper following, I read where we have left off last week to enable us follow the halachot, the logic of halachot. Halakha number 12, when one enters one's house or someone else's house, one must do as the host, follow the head of the household request. One should pause upon entering according to the local custom. And one should not decline something which one's senior requests. When entering someone's house, one should not request food until it is offered, but one may ask to drink water. It's a common in among people, among ourselves. You are coming from, for example, from Beit Knesset, and then sometime we wanted to go ahead of the owner of the house. Racha says, don't. Halacha also says, do not request your host if he has got a certain lechaim. If he has provided you with some water, that's just an example. Or he has provided you with a cola, do not ask you for wine. Do not ask what was or beyond what was all extra that was not provided for. Be humble. Do not embarrass your host. It's very, very dangerous, because embarrassment, according to other opinions, tantamount to murder. So, halakha number Yud Gimel, meaning number 13. One should not take a bite from a piece of bread and then pass it to someone else, or dip it into the food, as other people may be bothered by this. In other words, the first piece that comes to you, it's meant for you. Do not take a piece from it and pass it to somebody else. No, it's for you. Neither should one drink from a cup and then pass it to someone else, as the other person might be embarrassed not to accept it and drink from it, and they may nevertheless be harmed through disgust from having to drink from someone else's cup, and they even die. This is probably from the healthy perspective, but the Chazal, the Torah Chacham, have gone beyond that. Remember, Yeah, maybe I shouldn't reserve that for another time, because Ben Shchai is going to explain or to relate it to this very halakha in other halakhot we are going to learn. Halakha 13 continues. It is written in Tzavaot, Rabbi Eliezer Hagadol, is the work of the Rabbi Eliezer, that one should not drink the remainders from someone else's cup, lest one catch some disease. Nevertheless, members of a family all drink from the Kiddush cup, because they know that the person who made Kiddush does not have contagious diseases. Because we must be careful about conducting ourselves, our behaviors at our hosted places. Very, very extra careful to observe carefully before we just touch anything. Because every house has got its own way of, the custom. Abishai, I don't know what happened to this. Halakha number 13 continues. Although it is mentioned among the rules of etiquette that one should not put an empty cup back on the table, but should wait for the servant to take it away. If the local custom is not to be particular about it, one need not bother to observe this detail. I repeat this. Although it is mentioned among the rules of the etiquette that one should not put an empty cup back on the table, but should wait for the servant to take it away. If the local custom is not to be particular about it, one need not bother observe this detail. I was bothered a little bit by this halakha, this specific halakha, when it's mentioned about the seventh. Because a number of many people in the world, when they look at the Jewish writings, they would try to find justification out of the Jewish writings. Seventh here, I'm going to the word of the Chazal, particularly in Pirkei Avos. In the Pirkei Avos, there is a Mishnah there that says, when you or whoever acquires a servant has acquired himself a master, if I'm not mistaken. What does that mean? Because a Jew is not really permitted to acquire a servant in the sense of what is understood by the nations. Coming from Africa, having seen the transitions from colonial rules of other nations to the so-called determinations of natives, I have seen form of segregations. I have seen apartheid. I have seen how to be truly, in the sense of the word, a servant. I've seen all that too. But when it comes to the Torah, is quite very different. Although the word is not also the same. Because when Hashem is addressing Moshe, or Moshe is being addressed as a servant of God, Eved Hashem, you do have got also Eved Abraham, Abraham. The same letters. Could it mean it means the same thing? Certainly is not in the same sense as many of the in the Umotolam in the world really see it, all define it, all understand it. Maybe I shouldn't emphasize that much more. Halakha number Yudalet.
Can I disturb you?
Can, yes.
5 minutes.
Yes.
We need to do a tikkun for the young lady.
Oh, okay.
And I need the bedin.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I will. Yeah. Shalom lekulam. We were just busy, not just, but something came up that we needed to attend to. Baruch Hashem, we continue our limud. We continue our limud where we left off. Halakha number 14. It reads as follows. Although our sages, Zal, said that one should always leave something over from one's food, our teacher, the Arizal, right, Sharat Ta'ameh Mitzvot, that this is no longer applies. Nevertheless, it is not polite to eat everything from the plate, and even more so, not to leak after eating. I remember so well, we dealt with this halakha. It's about the klipot. The klipot also live from, welcome Rabbi Israel. The klipot, they are also surviving. All, I should put it this way. The klipot is also a creation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu for a significant purpose in this world. Whether you and I do not understand or not, it's not any issue. What is the issue is we should follow what the Chazal, all our sages have advised. It says, I remember Rabbi Pinchas taught us, well, I learned from my Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Pinchas. When you eat, do not lick your plate or finish the food completely. Why? Because the klipot that were also meant to survive and to eat from or to have a part of it, if you clean your table by licking it completely, the klipot themselves will complain before Kadosh Baruch Hu. That they were all supposed to eat and to feed on what, that just a little bit, the residue of your food in the plate. But if you clean it completely, Chash v'shalom, they will become a problem to you. So leave some of residue of the food in the plate so that they do not become a problem to you. Chash v'shalom. Halakha number 15. Our teacher, Rabbi Chaim Vaital, right, initially Tamei Mitzvot, that our teacher, the Arizal, would occasionally request his wife to serve him wild grasses which were not sown by men, or edible, tasteless, and the thorns, in order to fulfill the case upon Adam Harishon. Here in Beidad, it is possible to do this by eating the wild plants called chaber, which are similar to thorns, and which people pick in the brine. But one must be careful to examine them thoroughly for worms. There is a halacha when it comes to Kabbalat Shabbat. According to the tradition that we follow, it's the same tradition of our master, Arizal. We accept Shabbat 3 times. We go to the field and we look at the grass, we look at the trees, and we accept the Shabbat. We go home and we accept Shabbat in our places. We go to Beit Knesset, we accept the Shabbat with the entire community. What is the purpose of looking at the tree and the grass? It's because there are neshamot in the grasses. There are neshamot in the trees. Quote, this is the world of Kafekela. So the world of Kafekela is meant for the Reshaim that are trapped there, just as like in your food. So when you accept the Shabbat in the field, you are elevating those sparks from the grasses, from the trees. So as they say, there is also one midrash that I saw. On Shabbat, the souls that are trapped in a Gehinnom also are being relieved of the suffering. So halacha number 16, and probably we are going to end there before we go to the main limud. The pages are sent in the group. Follow it in to the best of your ability. If one sees food lying on the ground, one may not leave it there, and the one should pick it up. You are not to trample on the bread, not even on the crumbs. I came across some halachot that one must be careful, because trampling on those crumbs that fall on the ground, as one eats, may cause even poverty. Well, it's not subject of now, but just wanted to remind ourselves. One may not, well, halakha continues, one may not unnecessarily cause food to become unfit for use. Careful. I remember my youngest sister at those days. Was complaining about somebody who was simply keep food in their refrigerator and until the food gets rot. But yet there are people, unfortunate people walking without food. It was not proper. So I remember my ex-wife also. So I applaud you, my ex-wife, though. Johnny has, life journey. You have taught my children a very good lesson. So here, this halakha is teaching me, is teaching the Jewish people, is teaching the same thing that you have brought my children up. Halakha continues. One may not throw around any fruit which may become damaged and thereby repulsive, even before a bride and a groom as part of merriment, all of a good omen. Careful Those days, I watched a movie. A movie is about apparently King Shlomo. As he was riding on his horse, he took an apple from somebody's basket, and he ate it and bite a bit, and they throw it on the ground. That is not a Jewish way. I remember having said that's not a Jewish way. Here we are told, in halakha, it's not something that you and I are allowed to do. Not to when you think, now you are so happy, you can throw things that you probably don't have any taste of it anymore, throw it around. No, not halakha. Halakha continues, number 16 continues. In Beidad, on the night before a brit, people sometimes set up a table decorated with branches and flowers. And they use a dough and the fruit such as sweet lemon and the pomegranate is a base for arrangement. The fruit certainly becomes damaged and unfit for use after being used like this, and one should protest against this practice. Protest against this practice. I was in a Maseket Yeroma, if I'm not mistaken. The Amoraim were discussing about how to skin an animal. And they said, I think it's Maseket 33, if I'm not mistaken, Daf 33. It says there, a Jew is not allowed to skin off an animal from the legs. What was the reason? Most of the Amoraim on that specific point, they were based on only one thing. What is that one thing? Respect the animal. Pay the respect, pay honor, not honor, but respect to the animal. So therefore, on that basis, even something that you think is just simply done at random, the Jewish halakha, you have to check halakha first, whether it is permitted, because there is nothing that is meaningless. Everything has got a meaning, even if by touching my lips. There are some people who are Torah Chacham, who can understand exactly the meaning of me having my my fingers on my hand, on my lips. We have to be very careful. Halakha number 17, and it ends there. It is forbidden to lean a dish full of food on a loaf, in case the content spill onto the loaf and render it inedible. I repeat that passage of that halakha for a specific reason. I will explain that reason. It is forbidden to lean a dish full of food on a loaf, meaning on a challah, in case the content is spilled onto the loaf and they render it inedible. In many cases, you find that in serving myself on the table, I pile my my plate to the point that sometimes they put also that piece of challah on the side of the plate. If the food spill on that challah, it may render it as the halakha continue to say, inedible. It may no longer have that appetizing in your eyes. In other words, you pay disrespect to the challah. Halakha forbid that. The last passage on this halakha, when preserving a fruit, some people put a piece of bread into the brine to give the fruit a good taste. As the bread becomes inedible through this, one should not permit it. As the bread becomes inedible through this, one should not permit it. One should respect the bread, and they will be rewarded for blessings for doing so. Look at the flowing of the halakha, or the halachot we have learned previously. And only at the end of that halakha, on that very parsha of the week, it says one should respect bread, and they will be rewarded with a blessing for doing so. I wanted to explain a little bit, in a brief, before I turn to the main element. What is, can you write for me, challah, please? The Hebrew word for challah, lechem, meaning lechem. Only 3 letters. The gematria value, in a brief, because we have been dealing with this for many times. Lechem.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's only consists of the 3 letters. And the gematria value of this lechem is 78, which is equal to 3 times the name Havaya, the gematria value of Havaya. 26 is 78. Let's connect this. Let's connect this. Let's connect this to the period between the Pesach and the Shavuot. Yes. We know we are following a tradition. We are following a tradition that says we need to have 12 bread on our table. 12 bread. Bread. I would even dare to say, if I've got a 12 bread, if I take from lechem, all right, if I take lamed, the letter lamed, how many letters are left there? Then I have got the word cham. If I divide this, cham time divided by 4, how many do I have? I've got 12. In other words, the 12 bread on our table. But how did we come to 12? How did we come to the 12? If you spell out, not spell out, if you count the letters of Havaya 3 times, 1 is 4, plus another 4, plus 4, we have got a 12. So in other words, the 3 times 12 letters give us exactly how many?
So 4 times, right?
Yeah, 4 times.
Okay, 4 times.
Yes.
48.
It gives us 48, which is cham. But another, again, we have got another way of looking at the word lechem. Meaning, we can Either we can say for Ham or to Ham. Something that we should think about. So let me come back here. If I say, for example, you pay disrespect to the bread, what are you saying? It's not just the bread, because the bread is a metaphor of Torah. It's for Torah. And we disrespect that, becomes problematic. And once you come to the word Ham, certainly, imikolel, you have got to 49. The 49 days of counting Omer. And we know that when we come to that 49, then we become, or not we become, then we talk about the 7 kings. So if you disrespect bread, then the 7 kings will be problematic to you. Chash v'shalom. For halacha today, please, we end here. We go to Achunet because of our time. We go to our main limud. If there is any question, please do not hesitate to send us those questions. Best of Hashem, we will, with his help, we will be able to answer your question on that specific issue. Or on the halachot, whether those we have learned now or we have learned in the past. Excuse me. Our limud is based on the letter of Ramban, specifically with the emphasis of the word called Ibulet. What is Ibulet? Ability of man. And then we will say, we know that through time, we have been learning portion by portion for portion of the letter of Ramban is translated. And we know we are not only dealing with moral and the ethical teaching of Ramban, but we are also learning halachot here. In the letter of Ramban, we are also learning emunah, because we are living in a turbulent world where many of us have got a faint heart. Yes, that in itself proves that to a certain extent, we are far from learning the Torah. If we are not far from the Torah or learning the Torah, then that means we could not be troubled by what is happening in the world. Ever since the end of time, Rabbi Shimon, this morning he taught one of the Mishnah that he says, delve in the Torah, if I did not misunderstand him. Delve in the Torah, grow in the Torah, for everything is in it. It's true. So, the letter of Ramban, the portion of today, as I said, with the emphasis of that Hebrew word, ibolet, ability. What is ability? Yecholet? Is it this yecholet? Is it? Rabbi.
Yeah.
I think it's I misread your half. My sincere apology. I trust you. Don't feel bad. Is Icholet. Icholet is the word ability. What is that really ability all about? Besot Hashem, tomorrow I will go through these 5 letters with you, each one of them, Besot Hashem, to understand what lies behind this word. Because Ramban is using this word much more in commentaries. Although Ramban himself did not make the commentary, one cannot make a commentary on his own work. Somebody did a commentary, but he pays all a tremendous attention and emphasis to that very word. The portion of today, the pages are sent to you in a group. It reads as follows. Ve'alata bit bifnei Adam bedaberecha imo bechol Adam hiye gadol mimcha be'enecha. Translated as follows. Do not stay at your listener, apprentices, to intimidate or belittle him. Let all men seem greater than you in your eyes. Let's take the information quickly. Throughout his letter, Ramban points out various manifestations of arrogancy. Here he notes the habit of overbearing individual to lord over others in ways that are often quite subtle. Arrogance intimidates no matter what is form. One need not verbally assault another in order to hurt him. The penetrating coldness of a quick glance can be just as painful a message. Indeed, one must strive to refine all aspects of his communication with others. I wanted to end there because of our time, to end the commentary there. Let's take our Tanachim. Our Tanakh in Mishlei 19. Mishlei 19, Pasuk 2. May I? Toda Rabba Tzadik, Toda Rabba. Mishlei, meaning Proverbs, chapter 19. And the Pasuk 2. Pasuk 2, it reads as follows in Hebrew. I always emphasize that you and I need to learn Hebrew to the best of our ability. Nothing should deter you from learning, even if just learning one letter. It's not about only speaking, it's about learning the essence of the language. This is what it reads in Hebrew. Did I say, what did I say? Verse what? Verse 2. Verse 2, it reads as follows. Gam belo da'at nefesh lotov va'etz beraglaim chote. What does the translation say? It seems to be very close. Also, for the soul to be without knowledge is not good. I wanted to take that passage because that is what I'm going to play with. Not to play, yes, but yeah, to deal with. It says, the Tanakh in Mishlei, it says, it's not good for the nefesh to be without knowledge. And the question is, what is nefesh? And another question then will it be, what is knowledge? What is knowledge and what is nefesh? Let's go where we can find the word nefesh in the Torah. Yochumash. Yochumash in Shemot. I wanted to believe that it's 30. The very same pasuk that we read on Shabbat. Can anyone remember? No? We read the pasuk on Shabbat. Rabbi Shai, can you assist me here? I think the pasuk says, Hashem put this, it's a sign between the children of Israel and himself. No? Let me see. Huh? No. She said, huh?
What was the question again?
The question is, I'm looking for the word nefesh. And he says, okay, I got it. It says Shemot chapter 31. In the Pasha Kitisa, chapter 31, in the verse 17. Verse 17, it reads as follows in Hebrew. Beini uvenei bnei Israel, otihi l'olam kishoshet yamin. Asa Hashem et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Ubayom hashvi shavat v'inafash. Again, we have got now the root where the nefesh comes from. It is traced to the Torah itself. Now, what is nefesh? What is really nefesh? That King Shlomo said, it's not good for it not to have knowledge. It looks from all the, not all, but all what I come across, the nefesh. Yes, please, Rabbi Ishai.
Since you asked me a question.
Yes, please. Yes.
No, is this the first time we read the word nefesh in Torah, or it's, you pick this specifically?
I chose this specifically one. It may have appeared there, but it says, whenever you find the same word later, the interpretation goes to the first interpretation when it appears in the Torah.
You have the first one?
No, I don't. But that is only way I see that Hashem, the word is being used much more on what I'm going to yes, or do you have got to wait it appears first?
The first,
Yes.
it's in Bereshit Aleph,
Yes.
pasuk Taf. Vayomer Elokim,
Yes.
Yeshletzu Hamayim Sheret Nefesh Chaya Ve'ov Ye'ofef Al Haaretz Al Pene Rakia Hashamayim.
Exactly. But what does nefesh mean?
That's the question.
Nefesh seems to suggest that that is the last stage. The last stage of the light. The last stage, the last level of the light called whatever it's called.
And therefore the most constriction of the light.
Yeah. It did not go further than that.
After that, it's goof.
Yes. Because the goof without nefesh is done. It also doesn't exist also. It's from the Torah level, what is nafash? Nafash is to come to the last end, the last point, to rest. But not in the rest of like Noach or la Noach to rest. No. So, but the emphasis much more is not a good. The emphasis of King Shlomo is about knowledge. That nefesh without knowledge is not good. Now, what is knowledge? And I'm going to connect it to this very word. Yes, Rabbi.
Said at -5.
What time is it now? How many minutes do I still have for Rabbi Ishai?
You have 5 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
5 minutes.
Okay. I will read because of the time constraint. I will read it only in English for now. And please go through the pages that I have supplied. And the best of Hashem, we will add much more tomorrow. This is the Gemara. The Gemara reads as follows. Rav Yosef said, Havdalah is recited in that blessing because it requires wisdom to distinguish between two entities. They establish it in the blessing of wisdom. Rabbis say a different reason. Because Havdalah is a distinction between sacred and the profane, the sages established the blessing of established it in the blessing of weekdays. The first three blessings of the Amidah, prayer, are recited both on weekdays and on Shabbat in the festivals. The blessing, who grant gracious knowledge, who graciously grant knowledge, is the first of the blessing recited exclusively during the week. Having mentioned the blessing of wisdom, the Gemara cites that which Rabbi Ami said with regard to knowledge. Great is knowledge that was placed at the beginning of the weekday's blessing, an indication of significance. The Gemara continues, and the Rabbi or Rav Ami said in a place of wisdom, in a praise of wisdom, great is knowledge that that was placed between two letters, meaning two names. How so? As it is stated, for God of knowledge is Lord. The knowledge is placed between two Hashem's names, God and Lord. Meaning Havaya and Adanut. Careful, we dealt with Adanut before. This is quoted in Shmuel. And since knowledge is regarded so highly, anyone without knowledge is forbidden to have compassion upon him. Be careful. Do not have compassion on someone who does not have knowledge. We will see what the Gemara explains here. As it is stated, for they are a people of no wisdom. Their creator will have no compassion upon them. And that their creator will not be gracious unto them. That is in a pasuk in Yeshayahu. If God shows no mercy for those who lack wisdom, or the more so, should the people refrain from doing so. What does it mean? In the letter, coming back to the letter of Ramban, what does Ramban advise his son? He advised his son. He said, do not stay at your listener. Let all men seem greater than you in your eyes. Doing the opposite of what Rambam said is a proof that you don't have knowledge. My rabbi is about to start his limud. I'm drawing it to the conclusion. Based on Hashem, we will continue tomorrow. Just one more passage. Similarly, Rabbi Eliezer said, maybe I should leave it for tomorrow. And because there is quite a lot of deeper things in this thing called knowledge. We know. Haverim, it's really, I'm running out of time. Best of Hashem, we will continue tomorrow. Thank you very much for having given me the platform to share with you. Hope to see you tomorrow once again. Best of Hashem. Baruch Adonai leolam. Amen ve amen. Baruch you.